Welcome to Integrated Medical Biochemistry by Dr. Bijoya. Today's topic is cardiac function tests. Now, what is myocardial infarction? Myocardial infarction, in layman's term, is also known as a heart attack, which is a life threatening condition that occurs when blood flow to the heart muscle is abruptly cut off, causing tissue damage. Now, myocardial infarction is generally due to occlusion of the coronary arteries, which leads to restricted blood supply to the heart, leading to ischemia. And if this is prolonged, it will lead to damage to heart tissues known as infarction. And because of damage to heart tissue, there is release of enzymes and other proteins into the blood circulation known as cardiac markers. Now, the myocardial infarction may be caused by various risk factors which are categorized or classified into modifiable and non-modifiable risk factors. These include hyperlipidemia, diabetes mellitus, smoking, hypertension, stress, obesity, heavy physical activity, diet, high content of saturated fatty acids and cholesterol. So these are the modifiable risk factors which, if in control, will definitely prevent the event of myocardial infarction. However, the non-modifiable risk factors of cardiac diseases include heredity, individuals more susceptible to premature atherosclerosis, age, after middle age there is increased incidence of atherosclerosis, the gender, the male gender is more prone to atherosclerosis compared to women up to the certain age. Now, what are the signs and symptoms of AMI? The signs and symptoms of AMI include pain in the chest or arms, the pain or discomfort in other areas of the upper bodies, such as arms, left shoulders, back, neck, jaw, or stomach, heartburn or abdominal pain, sweating or cold sweat, shortness of breath, nausea or vomiting, dizziness, or fainting. The clinical examination includes ECG, chest X-ray, echocardiogram, imaging techniques, coronary angiography if needed, which is an invasive examination, angiography, which is again an invasive examination, cardiac catheterization, again an invasive examination, and it also includes biochemistry laboratory tests known as the cardiac profile tests. Now, what is electrocardiography? It is also abbreviated as ECG. The ECG criteria are not specific enough to identify non-ST elevation MI. ST elevation MI is indicated by new ST elevation in at least two contiguous leads measuring more than 0.2 millivolts in leads, V1 to V3, or more than zero point 0.1 millivolts in all other leads. Established MI in the absence of confounders is indicated by any Q wave in leads V1 to V3 or by Q waves of 1 more than 1 mm for 30 more than 30 minutes in two or other contiguous leads. This is presumed new left bundle branch block may not be accompanied by ST segment deviation. The characteristic changes are indicative of acute myocardial infarction in patients with prior left bundle branch block. This still needs to be defined. Now the pathology of AMI takes 6 hours for myocyte necrosis to become evident in histopathology. The pathological identification of MI depends on part of staging of inflammatory cell infiltrate, neutrophils, healing, that is mononuclear cells, healed, that is collagen without cellular infiltration. The infarcts are classified by size, microscopic, small, medium, and large infarcts. Imaging. The manifestation of MI include regional wall motion abnormalities on echocardiography, contrast angiography, radionuclide scanning, or magnetic resonance imaging. These abnormalities may include evidence of infarct zone, wall thinning, changes in tissue texture, and or abnormalities in the wall motion. So the classical definition of AMI by WHO says that there should be presence of at least two of the following criteria for the diagnosis of AMI. First is the typical symptoms of myocardial infarction. Second, enzyme increase characteristic of myocardial necrosis. And third, ECG changes typical of development of new Q waves. So, at least two of the three should be present in order to classify the signs and symptoms as myocardial infarction. Now, the classification of cardiac biomarkers. Cardiovascular biomarkers for the detection of various cardiovascular diseases. So here are a classification of various cardiovascular biomarkers, which includes markers of atherosclerosis and markers of ischemia and necrosis. So first let us look at the biomarkers of atherosclerosis. They are further classified into traditional markers and novel markers. So atherosclerosis traditional markers include the lipid profile, that is total cholesterol, LDL to HDL ratio, total cholesterol to HDL ratio, and triglycerides. The novel markers include lipoprotein A, homocysteine, apolipoprotein A1, apolipoprotein B100, and apolipoprotein E. The ischemia or necrosis markers include traditional markers, that is troponin I and T, CKMB, lactate dehydrogenase and AST, and myoglobin. The novel markers include fatty acid binding protein, glycogen phosphorylase BB, and ischemia modified albumin. So these are the various markers of atherosclerosis, ischemia, and necrosis. So this is the first kind of classification. Now the second classification includes, here it is classified into three groups: group 1, group 2, and group 3. Group 1 includes proteins, that is myoglobin and cardiac troponins. The group 2 includes lipids, which we have already discussed in the previous slide. The proteins are markers of cardiac injury panel test. The lipids are markers of cardiac risk evaluation test. So these tell us whether the person has a risk of future cardiac in, uh, incident, whereas these proteins will directly tell us about the cardiac injury. Now the enzymes included are CKMB, SGOT, LDH, and SHBD. These are cardiac injury panel tests. Now the third kind of classification includes a stage-wise classification which starts from plaque formation. So the markers of plaque formation are divided into two categories, that is endothelial damage and inflammation. So the markers of endothelial damage are LDL cholesterol, oxidized LDL cholesterol, and reactive oxygen species. The markers of inflammation include C-reactive protein, interleukins, TNF alpha, and homocysteine. Markers of plaque destabilization include cytokines, adiponectin, and PAP-A, whereas myocardial ischemia markers include IMA, FABP, BNP, and HSP. The cardiac necrosis markers include cardiac troponin, CKMB, HFABP, and myoglobulins. Whereas the markers of cardiac damage again are classified into two types: markers which indicate myocardial stretch or stress. These includes BNP and proBNP, ADH, ANP, and copeptin. Whereas heart failure markers include CAM1, BNP and T, proBNP, and copeptin. So this is the more advanced classification of the uh, cardiac function tests. Now let us look at the traditional cardiac markers. So here is a list of obsolete markers which include aspartate transaminases. This was the first biomarker used in the diagnosis of AMI, but is now no longer used because it is not specific to the heart. It is widely distributed in different tissues, and this has already been discussed in clinical enzymology lecture. I'll share the link with you. Now the normal value is between 8 to 20 units per liter. It is raised by 6 to 8 hours after infarction. It peaks by 8 to 24 hours after infarction, and it returns to normal within 4 to 5 days. This is again another example of obsolete marker, that is lactate dehydrogenase. The isoenzyme 1, that is 4H, is found in heart. Usually LDH2 is predominant form in the serum. A LDH1 level higher than LDH2 level is suggestive of myocardial infarction, and it is also known as flipped pattern because there is a flip in the levels where LDH2 levels are lesser than LDH1. Now LDH will rise within 24 to 48 hours of MI, peak within 3 to 4 days, and remain elevated for 10 to 15 days. The normal range or the reference range is 140 units per liter to 280 units per liter. It is useful in determining if patient has had an AMI and comes to doctor several days after the episode of chest pain. LDH level is directly proportional to the size of the infarct as reported. Now the third marker is myoglobin. It is a cardiac marker. It increases in serum levels after myocardial infarction as early as 1 hour of necrosis. Its reference range is 8 to 85 nanograms per ml. It peaks within 4 to 12 hours. It remains high for 0 to 4 hours and returns back to its basal level within 24 hours. So it is the quickest marker, but the disadvantage of myoglobin as a cardiac marker is that it is non-specific. Example, myoglobin increases in any form of muscle damage. Muscle injury increases myoglobin, and it may be misdiagnosed as AMI, and it returns to its basal level within 24 hours. This is another major disadvantage of myoglobin. Creatinine kinase. Now, creatinine kinase is a myocardial muscle enzyme. It is found mainly in the heart. The isoenzyme is CKMB level. It increases within 3 to 12 hours of onset of chest pain, peak values within 24 hours, and returns to baseline within 48 to 72 hours. The reference range is 5 to 25 IU per L. The sensitivity and specificity are not as high as troponin levels. The cardiac troponins are contractile proteins of myofibrils, and they are regulatory proteins. This is the gold standard for diagnosis of MI. Troponin C is the calcium binding component, troponin I is the inhibitory component, and troponin T is the tropomyosin binding component. The reference ranges of troponin I are 0.1 to 0.14 micrograms per liter, whereas troponin T reference range is 0.01 to 0.03 micrograms per liter. The component of It's an important component of cardiac muscles. It has long half-life. It is insoluble, so it remains in the serum for a very long time, and therefore cardiac troponin I and cardiac troponin T are allows detection within 3 to 6 hours of onset of AMI, and it remains elevated in the serum for 7 to 14 days. So because of these factors, it becomes the gold standard for diagnosis of AMI. Also shown by this this is a figure which shows that uh, there are different stages of microvascular obstruction and rupture, and there is release of CKMB and troponins during repetitive episodes of ischemia causing myocardial necrosis in the setting of acute coronary syndrome. Now here you can see that the CKMB is at every phase with a fresh necrosis. Every time CKMB is rising again and going back to normal. But as far as troponin is concerned, because it is insoluble, it remains, and with the next, in the second phase, again there is a cumulative effect, and in the third, when the more troponin increases, then there is a further cumulative effect. So every time there is further increased troponin values. So this is a brief summary of the enzymes, that is diagnostic markers of AMI, which are traditionally used and more commonly used. So you can see this whole, which serum, what is the onset, the peak level, and return to normal level, which is. Now this is the cardiac marker pattern associated with myocardial infarction, and you can see that troponin remains in the serum along with LDH for more than a week. Although myoglobin is the quickest, uh, you can see that because it has a short lifespan, it is easily taken over by CKMB and troponin. Now let us look at some of the novel markers which are currently under study or are yet to be used commonly by most physicians. So the first is the brain natriuretic peptide. It is a peptide hormone that is released in response to volume expansion and the increased wall stress of cardiac myocytes. BNP helps to promote diuresis and natriuresis, vasodilation of the systemic and pulmonary vasculature, and reduction of circulating levels of endothelin and aldosterone. So, both congestive heart failure due to left ventricular failure and non-cardiac pulmonary hypertension can lead to elevations of plasma BNP. A normal level of NT-proBNP based on Cleveland's clinic gives a reference range of less than 125 picogram per ml for patients between 0 to 74 years. So this is the normal range of brain natriuretic peptide, and it is a potentially very good marker and holds lot of promise. Now this is the activation of B type natriuretic peptide, where the pre-pro BNP in the cardiomyocyte due to stress or stretch is activated, and it is broken down to proBNP plus signal peptide. Now there are two enzymes, choline or furin, which further catalyze and convert these two NT-proBNP and BNP, or a part of it is released into the circulation. So all these products of proBNP or proBNP itself on cardiomyocyte damage reach the circulation, and here they are split products of proBNP, where serum choline is converting them into NT-proBNP and BNP. Now, the second novel marker is hard type fatty acid binding protein, that is abbreviated as HFABP. It is a binding protein. It's very stable, low molecular weight, between 14 to 15 kilodaltons in the cytoplasm of myocardial cells. FABP are involved in active fatty acid metabolism, where it transports fatty acids from cell membrane to mitochondria for oxidation. Small size of FABP facilitates rapid diffusion through interstitial phase, appearing within 1 to 3 hours of onset and peaking within 6 hours, and it returns to normal level in 12 to 24 hours. So for early detection, HAFBP can be a very important biomarker, and it doesn't rise in other conditions unlike myoglobin. So the normal levels of HFABP are 1.6 to 19 nanograms per ml. The other novel marker is glycogen phosphorylase BB. The glycogen phosphorylase, abbreviated as GP, It catalyzes the breakdown of glycogen in the sarcoplasmic reticulum. It's a dimeric enzyme with molecular weight of 18.8 kilodaltons. Its isoenzymes are BB for brain and heart, MM for skeletal muscles, and LL for liver. The glycogenolysis increases in ischemic myocardium, so large amount of GPBB are released in ischemic events. GPBB is released from sarcoplasmic reticulum into the cytoplasm within 2 to 4 hours after myocardial injury, and it reaches to normal within 36 hours of damage. So GPBB concentrations are sensitive markers for perioperative myocardial injury in patients undergoing coronary artery bypass grafting. Now, another very promising molecule is ischemia modified albumin. It is an early indicator of cardiac ischemia that develops before necrosis. So, this is a highly potential marker because it increases in the plasma before the necrotic event has started. A novel marker for ischemia is produced when circulating serum albumin contacts ischemic heart tissues. Under normal physiological conditions, transition metal bind to the N terminus of albumin molecule. Mechanism due to structural change in amino terminal end of albumin due to reactive oxygen species alters the ability of protein to bind to the metals such as cobalt or copper. So, ischemia modified albumin is actually a modified albumin, and this modification occurs before necrosis where albumin is unable to bind to some divalent metals such as cobalt and copper. So, this IMA can be measured by albumin cobalt binding assay that is based on IMA's inability to bind to cobalt, and this can be quantitated at 500 nanometers. So IMA levels rise within 6 hours and remain elevated for 12 hours, and its reference range is 85 micrograms per ml. Another important biomarker is homocysteine. Homocysteine increases in serum, and this condition is known as homocysteinemia, which can be a causative factor of coronary artery disease. This is the reference range age-wise stratification. 0 to 30 years reference range is 4.6 to 8.1 micromoles per liter. For age 30 to 59 years, it is 6.3 to 11.2 micromoles per liter in males, whereas in females, it is 4 to 7.9 micromoles per liter. And above 59 years, it is general, that is 5.8 to 11.9 micromoles per liter. So the molecular basis of coronary artery disease with respect to homocysteinemia is it causes damage to cell lining of blood vessels, it increases growth of smooth muscles. Homocysteine alters anticoagulant properties of endothelial cells to procoagulant properties. It causes dysfunction of vascular endothelium, and there is damaged vascular endothelium in atherosclerosis and CAD. So hyperhomocysteinemia is associated with deficiency of vitamin B12, B6 and folate. So whenever there is homocysteinemia, these supplements need to be given to the patient. Now here you can see the mechanism of action of homocysteinemia, how it increases free oxygen radicals, and it also increases the LPA activity, which is highly thrombogenic and atherogenic. And all this together causes macrophage, foam cells and fatty streaks, which will ultimately lead to myocardial infarction. Another promising molecule is copeptin. Copeptin is a glycopeptide. It's a part of pre-hormone molecule of the antidiuretic hormone, or arginine vasopressin might be useful as a diagnostic or prognostic biomarker and risk stratifier in a range of cardiovascular disease conditions. So this is the whole signal molecule for copeptin, where it is expressed along with vasopressin, neurophysin, and copeptin. And all these can be good markers along with copeptin for myocardial infarction. So the classical definition of AMI by WHO says that there should be presence of at least two of the following criteria for the diagnosis of AMI. First is the typical symptoms of myocardial infarction. Second, enzyme increase characteristic of myocardial necrosis. And third, ECG changes typical of development of new Q waves. So, at least two of the three should be present in order to classify the signs and symptoms as myocardial infarction. Now let us look at the new ACC and ESC definition of myocardial infarction. Before we go into the details, ACC here is uh, American College of Cardiology and ESC is European Society of Cardiology. So these associations have defined myocardial infarction. According to them, the clinical features of MI include spontaneous ischemic episode, usually lasting for more than 20 minutes, or a coronary artery intervention. Now, the biochemistry panel which these associations have suggested here are the preferred cardiac markers are troponin I or T for their specificity. CKMB has lower specificity than troponin T and I, but may be used for early diagnosis. Myoglobin and CKMB isoform should be considered for rapid diagnosis. Total CK, aspartate transaminases, and LDH have low specificity and are less satisfactory. However, the elevation of troponin or CKMB is defined as a value exceeding 99th percentile of a reference control group. So sampling of troponins or CKMB should be done at presentation at 6 to 9 hours and at 12 to 24 hours. So these are the recommendations of ACC and so please like, share and subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon. Thank you. Have a good day.